On an afternoon in November 2007, a corporate jet waited in a hangar at Salt Lake International Airport. Its 4 passengers, scientists and executives from a global pharmaceutical company, were locked in negotiations with 3 men in a nearby building.
They started getting on the phone about noon back east, and they kept doing that, and about 2 o'clock they walked in the room and said, okay, we're convinced you've got something here, and it's significant enough that we will write you a check big enough that you won't want to talk to anybody else.
We said, we'll call you tomorrow. And we immediately adjourned into our conference room again to discuss the offer that they put on the table.
How these men came together and the decision they made that day is the story of ASEA's genesis.
A lot of people have fathers that teach them sports. My father happened to be a great strategist, and from a very young age I recall having discussions with him about what he was doing. At the time he was running fairly large companies, and I can remember driving in the car with him and him talking to me about strategy, about what is strategy and how to think differently about a company.
Vertus Norton was well qualified to teach his son. At the time, he was sales planning manager of the billion-dollar beverage division of General Foods Corporation in New York, with responsibility for iconic products like Kool-Aid, Country Time, and others. In 1985, he was recruited by Dart and Kraft and eventually became the head of Hobart Corporation US near Cincinnati, Ohio. 5 years later, he rejoined Kraft General Foods in Chicago as vice president of the Channel Group, managing a billion-dollar pilot business unit that led to the eventual integration of General Foods, Oscar Mayer, and Kraft Foods. Based on his track record, Vertus was asked to help re-engineer the company to increase efficiency in relation to an industry-wide initiative called Efficient Consumer Response. In the subsequent 3 years, Kraft's ECR, or efficiency rating, moved from 10th to 1st place.
I've known Vertus for over 25 years, and it was apparent to me immediately that here was a very special man. A man that had wonderful ethics, great business strategies, enthusiasm. There was no question that this man was going to be a huge success, and he is a success.
Vertus retired from Kraft at age 57 and moved to Park City, Utah.
We thought he would take retirement seriously. He did not. Shortly after doing some service for our church, he was asked to run a biotech company. He had a lab in Southern California, 5 PhDs reporting to him, a series of master's or graduate students as well, all doing work for him there. And he ran that for 4 years, and we thought he was done.
But Vertus Norton was not done. Through his son Tyler, Vertus was introduced to another biotech company and invited to become a member of their board.
I recall coming to the house one afternoon only to find books strewn about his desk, chemistry and biology books, and I said, "Now what in the world are you doing now?" And he proceeded to tell me that he had been invited to sit on the board of this company that had an incredible technology. And I do recall him saying, "But they don't know exactly what they have." And that's an invitation to my dad. He's going to figure it out. He's a puzzler.
I was intrigued until they told me it was made from salt water. And I told them, this doesn't sound right, and you're going to have to convince me it's real. They said, well, we can do that. They said, we have a lot of research, and we'll give you some of the best research. You can look at it. And after running a lab and having my association with these people for 4 years, I knew what to look for. And I went through the science, and it was good, defensible science. Then they gave me a list of people to call, and I was calling Harvard, UCLA, University of Washington, University of Indiana, major labs across the United States, and everyone I talked to raved about the product, the way the company was intending for it to be used, And also they raved about the fact that you could drink this product and get a benefit from it.
At the time, the product could only be produced in limited quantities through small devices. Highly unstable, it had to be used within minutes of production. But seeing the strength of the product, Virtus agreed to join the board of directors.
As soon as I did that, they said, we're going to give you one of these devices to put in your house. We'd like you to become familiar with it. I started drinking the product that was made in this device, and my thinking cleared up. I had more energy. I felt better than I had for years, and now keep in mind I was in my 60s at that time. And I thought, holy cow, what is this? So I went to the first board meeting and found out that they were flat out of money. They were $1 million in debt. We said, let's see if we can help them find money. We tried for about 90 days, could not. Eventually the company folded, and they actually merged it with another company, an energy company. And when that happened, that company started selling off assets.
Meanwhile, a family in New Hampshire was embarking on a major change. Jim Pack had been a highly successful consultant in the telecommunications industry. His son, Joe, had secured a position on the United States ski team. Wanting Joe to achieve his dreams, the family moved to Park City to allow Joe to train with the U.S. freestyle team for the 2002 Winter Olympics.
So I'm living in a subdivision in Park City, Utah, and after a few years, another gentleman moves in a few houses up from me. This gentleman was named Virtus Norton. Now, Virtus and I became good friends, and actually we became good golfing buddies. I quickly came to realize that Virtus was something special in terms of his training, his business skills, his analytical ability, his integrity. Everything about Virtus was so much better than any executive, including governors or attorney generals, that I'd ever worked with. He was so competent. I was impressed. I made the decision on the golf course as we golfed, week after week. I said, I'm going to do something with this guy. One day we're golfing on the Park City Municipal Golf Course, and he's saying, I'm sitting on the board of this little company, and they've got a terrific product. I use the product. I've just found phenomenal results with this product, but the company's really mismanaged. He said, the product is so good that I'm going to put together an investment company and acquire this product.
And he pulled a golf cart over on the fairway and reached in his back pocket and pulled out a folded check, business check, that was blank. And he said, you got a pen? And I handed him a pen, and he wrote a very big check. And he said, let's go do this together. And I said, are you crazy? You don't even know what it is.
I said, Virtus, that's true, but I know everything about you. I know you've done your due diligence. If you're to the point where you want to form an investment company to acquire this technology, I want to be part of it. Let's do it together. And that was the start in the formation of ASEA.
Of anybody that I've known, my favorite person is Jim Pack. I don't think just because he's brilliant. I think it's because he has drive and he engenders trust and confidence.
And so we started down the road together, and over the course of a year, we discovered what the product was and why it worked. We developed what's called the mechanism of action.
They discovered the product was based on redox biochemistry, a new field of science that emerged near the beginning of the 21st century. Redox signaling is a function central to all forms of life. Redox signaling molecules are created within every cell of the body and are vital to the immune system and to cellular repair and replace mechanisms. As one gets older, the body's ability to make these molecules decreases, a function of aging. The product provided a replenishing source of the exact redox signaling molecules the body creates, and in the same balance, enhancing cellular health. Knowing the product's shelf life was essential, Virtus and Jim challenged a team of researchers, including Dr. Gary Samuelson, to find a way to stabilize the product.
We didn't know if it could be done, and we bought some equipment and kept making product over and over and over again, and we'd run it through the computer. And finally, after months, he finally came in and said, I think I've got the product stabilized. And we started testing it and found out that he had, in fact, stabilized the product.
After stabilization had been achieved, Virtus and Jim met with a group of university scientists.
We had told them that we had stabilized this mix of molecules, and they said, no, it can't be done. And we said, no, we have done it. And they said, no, it can't be done. And they were so adamant that they were slapping the table. And we said, well, wait a minute. We'll come back tomorrow and show you the product. So we took the product back the next day. Said, this is stabilized redox signaling molecules, both positive and negative molecules in the same bottle, stabilized. And they said, how in the world did you do this? So one of the big breakthroughs is the fact that we can stabilize molecules that you're not supposed to be able to do that. The molecules in ASEA are supposed to be fleeting. They should all return to salt and water in just a matter of minutes, and they don't.
Meanwhile, Vertus's son Tyler had arrived at the pinnacle of his career in the financial services business. His father took occasion to explain to him the technology he and Jim Pack had acquired.
He said to me, this is the product. He reminded me it was made from salt and water, and I was very concerned. At church the following Sunday, I was discussing some of the challenges of some of the members of our congregation, and I had a neighbor friend that we discussed the majority of that meeting, who, despite seeing a number of professionals and trying to solve a challenge that he had a significant issue, they were just not able to really help and find a solution for him. And it was then that this product popped into my mind. I wondered and asked, despite my doubts, could this help? Could this make a difference for him? I called Dad, and he said, of course it will help. Now, I didn't have that conviction at the time. He did, and he was willing to get some of that product. We got that product to my neighbor. And from that point forward, I felt confident that I had done my part. And given that I was still doubtful and even fearful, I kind of washed my hands from it. I think it was 3 months later when I received a phone call from the leader of our church. And he said, are you sitting down? And I said, don't start a call like that. What's wrong? And he said, this is good news. Are you sitting down? He proceeded then to tell me that he had just received some very good news. That my neighbor, whom we had given this product to months earlier, had received word that he was in fact improving and had improved a great deal. Of course, the question going through my mind was, well, did he drink this stuff? And that was what my church leader told me. He says, that's why I'm calling. He drank all of it, and he's confident that it's had a huge effect on his situation. I called my neighbor, and I needed for him to tell me what he had experienced. And he was quiet for a minute, as I recall, and said, do you have any idea what I think this has done for me and for my family? He began to tell me things that I've now heard multiple times over from people across all of North America, and how this product helped him and made a difference for his family. Frankly, this was a problem for me. This became a problem for me. It was my first indication that this could be real, this could be meaningful. By this point, Jim and my father had made a significant commitment to this product. They were moving forward. And I started to question kind of what I was doing, and feeling a need to get this product out to the world, watching the impact it was having. And I ultimately resigned in May of 2010 from a significant job, the job I'd spent the better part of 17 years getting to. And it was born of this sense and feeling that this product needed to be given to the world.
I've known Tyler Norton for now over 20 years. He is a person who demonstrates integrity in all aspects of his business. He is able to motivate people to do things that are even beyond what they think they can do.